22 Magnums versus CCI Stingers. Which one is more powerful? Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce. Today we're going to figure out with some experimentation on a farm which of these is more powerful, the 22 Magnums versus the CCI Stingers, which is some of the most potent 22 long rifle ammo you can buy. If you simply look at the manufacturer's information about each round, you will find out that the 22 Magnum is in fact more powerful than the 22 CCI Stinger. But that information is not the whole story. Those numbers probably came from shooting the cartridges through a 16 to 18 inch barreled rifle. But today we're going to test them out in both short barrel revolvers and long barrel revolvers. That's right, the 16 inch Heritage Revolver. Look at that beast. And today's numbers will be calculated from my chronograph made by Caldwell. It's kind of an older unit. I don't really recommend it today, but there are some really good options for chronographs. I do recommend if you have any kind of science background and want to just, look up some numbers and figure out your own scientific experiments, a chronograph is just super fun to have on hand. First of all, we're going to run through all the Stingers with the different barrel lengths. 1103, 1102, 1144, very consistent, nice. And now the 6-inch revolver. This is of course the Tactical Cowboy, which is super fun. 1235, 1171, 1257. Also fairly consistent, not as consistent as the short barrel. Interesting. And now the big boy, the 16 inch over the chronograph. 1276, not that much faster. Interesting. Not much faster than a 6-inch barrel. Interesting. Today's video is sponsored by Let Me Open Air earbuds. They sound great, they feel great, you will forget these are on your ear. And with their open air design, you can hear your surroundings while you're listening to your podcast, so just in case everyone starts kung fu fighting, you'll be ready for business. The Model G ones here, those are their Cadillac design. That's the best they got. They sound great, they feel great. I personally prefer the sound of their D1 line, their clip version. They also sound great, as long as you can get past the fact they look like Cybertruck nuts. As always, links are down below if you're interested. Now the Stinger is supposed to be exiting the barrel at 1,600 feet per second. Of course, we didn't get anywhere near that with any length barrel. So now we're going to look at the Magnum 22s and see what they do in these tiny barrels. Here we go. Now we got 3 rounds, and this should be exiting the barrel at roughly, I believe, 1,800 feet per second. But of course, that is from the manufacturer, who is betting on you using it in a rifle and not a snub-nose revolver. All right, everything's recording. Let's get some numbers down on paper. Interesting. Again, very consistent, but only 1,100 feet per second. Way short of the advertised 1,800 feet per second. You're probably asking yourself, Deuce, why is the number so much slower than the advertised 1,800 feet per second? Well, the reason is the manufacturer Arms Corps, they tested out their product in the most advantageous environment for their product. Because everyone wants a bullet that goes faster, longer, stronger, more capable. Just like penis pills, you also use the same type of information to choose your ammo. In this particular case, it's got 2 things going against it. Number one is that the barrel is very short. It does not have enough time to burn all that gunpowder and get that bullet up to speed. You would need to use a much different type of gunpowder to get a rimfire cartridge up to speed in that very short 2-inch barrel. The second issue is the cylinder gap. Between the cylinder and the barrel is this tiny gap that allows the cylinder to rotate. I love this revolver. It's the Heritage Barkeep. The only stupid thing I don't like about it is the fact that to unload the cylinder, you've got to use a little punch here to unload it, which is dumb, but also probably historically accurate. I have no idea. And now 3 rounds of Magnum through the 6-inch revolver. Of course, the Tactical Cowboy here because that's just cool. And no, it does not suppress well. I have a video on there. I'll put that up here. 1272, 1191, 1207. All right. Not bad, if I do say so myself, but still nowhere close to the promised 1800 feet per second. 3 rounds of 22 Magnum through a 16-inch Revolver. Every time I pick this thing up, I have to laugh, I have to giggle. It's a hoot at the shooting range. 1318. A little bit of speed, 1276. 1334. A little bit faster than the 6-inch Revolver, but not by much, which tells me that the 16-inch barrel is just for laughs. But boy, is it funny. The results are now in between the Magnum versus Stinger debate, and I'm going to focus on the 6-inch barrel revolver because, number one, most people have this length barrel revolver for 22. Also, most people don't have the 16-inch barrel, and there wasn't much of a difference between the 6-inch barrel and the 16-inch barrel in this. This Stinger is shooting a 32 grain bullet at, I've got my cheat sheet here, 1,221 feet per second on average, resulting in 106 foot-pounds of energy. The Magnum, on the other hand, is a 40 grain bullet going out of the 6-inch barrel at 1,223 feet per second, so almost identical, resulting in a foot-pounds of energy of 133. So in conclusion of the energy debate, there's only about a 30 foot-pounds energy difference between shooting Magnums versus shooting the CCI Stinger. Howdy folks, Deuce from the future here. That old Deuce is wrong. I was just about to tell you that there was almost no difference between the Stingers versus the 22 Magnums. And that is wrong. I woke up in the middle of the night in a fever dream and I realized I need to test out other brands of 22 Magnum to make sure this is at least somewhat scientifically viable. So I went back down to the range to test out this Hordney 30 grain VMAX 22 Magnum ammo, and boy glad I did, because I got some amazing results out of the 22 revolvers. This stuff did a little bit better out of the barkeep and a little bit better again out of the 6-inch barrel revolver, the normal barrel revolver. But out of the 16-inch barrel, this stuff did incredibly well compared to the Armscrow 22 Magnum and the 22 Stinger. This tiny little 30 grain bullet had an average speed out of the 16-inch barrel of 1,565 feet per second with I got a cheat sheet here, 163 foot-pounds of energy. Now, I don't know if it's just because of the lighter bullet that helps it get down the barrel and not be influenced by the cylinder gap leaking that extra pressure, or if they're using a different type of gunpowder. I'm not sure, but results are results. And choosing the 30 grain VMAX over, say, the CCI Stinger will result in an extra 60 foot-pounds of energy. So you're going from 103 to 163. And that is something remarkable. Personally, I think the CCI Stingers offer enough oomph, enough energy for pretty much anything you're going to do with a 6 or 12-inch revolver out on a range, out on a farm, out in a field. This will do pretty much any job you probably want to do with a revolver. But if you were looking for maximum energy on target from a Heritage Rough Rider revolver, and you have a 6 or 16-inch barrel revolver, and you're willing to pick up or already have the Magnum cylinder, then pony up the extra couple of bucks, get the 30 grain VMAX from Hordney, and it will give you the maximum energy that you can squeeze out of one of these revolvers, hands down. So the real moral of the story is if you're going to shoot Magnums, don't skimp out and get the Armscrow. Spend a few extra bucks to get the good stuff. Well guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I got a lot more on the way. If you have any comments, questions, show what it is, go ahead and put that down in the comments down below. I try to answer as many of those as possible. Remember, early comments almost always get a response from me, so I answer tons of questions there unlike other YouTubers. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya.